You are listening to The Journey. Welcome back to Finding Rest in the Storm, Part 2.
It's exactly the same how it is in our relationship with God.
Well, I've experienced that with prayer. For example, the writing of a letter in a way, when it's a relationship with Jesus and God, it's actually the letter is a prayer. You know, it's a prayer. It's a communicating a prayer to God.
Yes.
And then I've experienced literally time and time again how that prayer, how he answers that prayer in reality, like really answers it. So that develops relationship.
Yes.
It's not like, I'm not trying to say it's like I pray and get what I want. It's not like that. It's answered.
Yes.
And sometimes it doesn't come, but I feel that relationship. I feel that if something that I was praying for doesn't come, I know now that it's better for me that it doesn't come. But all this prayer starts to develop a relationship.
Yes.
You know, and experiences.
Yes. I think the experiences develop trust. It's, we are living here in Japan, and it's very easy to post a letter and expect it to arrive at its destination. It's very easy to order something and expect that it will arrive. It's just kind of the natural expectation. It's easy to go down to the station and expect that the train will be there on time within the minute. And so we have this distrust of all of these things, these systems around us, because through our experience we understand that's how it works. And I think it's developing this relationship, whether it's through prayer and receiving answers to prayer. It's a matter of developing trust through experience that God answers prayer. And it's through that experience that as we develop trust, that gives us more peacefulness, that gives us more tranquility. And earlier we talked about, getting out of the water and into the boat. And I think developing that trustful relationship, developing what I just read a little earlier, how God has our best interests at heart. And even if it's in a storm, God still has our best interest at heart. And yes, it's a part of it is trust because we don't always see it. Part of it is from experience because God answered before and we got the answer before and things worked out before. But I think we're also looking at a situation where, what if people have not got to that point yet? Where they haven't seen it happen? Well, what can we say to help those people?
Well, that's what was happening with me before, because I didn't really used to pray or study the Word or study the Bible or study, the life of Jesus, like literally without a church or without any religion involved, but just literally becoming familiar with his works, with his actions, with the way he lived his life, with his words. So I wasn't familiar at the time, and I didn't really believe that much in prayer or do prayer. I didn't pray that much. So I didn't have experiences of, a relationship. So then when the storm would come, I didn't have any deep water. I didn't have any foundation to go to because I wasn't familiar, So the storm would just be inside me and outside of me. And it grew. It grew. And sometimes depression would come. And if depression starts coming over a storm and you don't have anywhere to go, it actually can feel like you can't get out of it.
Yes. Yes, because you're drowning in the sea and there is no life jacket, no life raft, and there's nothing in sight.
Right.
To help you. So So developing that relationship, that is the essence. And that's something that comes over time. It comes between the storms. But also it is something that can grow in the storm. Because it's something when you do just turn to the Lord in your own heart. It doesn't take any other external trappings, any other external doings. It's just a matter of simply in your own heart of turning to the Lord and saying, look, if you are real, if you are there, help me in this situation. Do something. Give me the strength to continue. Change the situation, change me, but do something. And if people will just in their own heart do that, I know things will happen, because it's not dependent on anything else or anyone else. It's not a matter of going to some building, going to some place. It's just the place we go to is our own heart. And that's, we're talking about a tranquil heart. And the essence of a tranquil heart is a heart where God is. But that's not a forced situation. God does not force himself into our heart. It's a volunteer situation. It's something that we desire, that we want. In as much as we were talking about the relationship between people. You may want with all of your heart to be a close friend with some beautiful lady. But if she's not interested in you, that's as far as it goes.
Right.
But God is totally interested in us. He desires and wants this open relationship. But the controlling factor is us.
So what I hear you saying in that is we have to learn to find a tranquil heart. We have to learn to ask for help.
Yes.
To God. Ask. Just the simple act of asking.
Yes.
And in a way that's acknowledging Him and trusting Him and building relationships with God. Just the act of asking. Because, I know for me, before when that was happening, I wasn't asking.
Yes.
I was just trying to fix it myself.
Yes. We flounder around.
With my own, abilities.
Yes.
And pride in a way. So it takes a step of letting go. For me, I notice it's a letting go of pride to even admit that I need help.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So that letting go of my pride and just reaching out and asking.
Sure, it is our own nature of pride to want to be able to fix the situation, to want to be able to get through the storm by ourselves. And until we get to that point where we realize, well, maybe if I don't get help, I'm not going to get through this. And we are willing to open the door and say, look, I need help here. I am not enough. And it's, you can take it as a kind of, in a negative sense, that God brings these storms along for us to say, uncle, so we surrender, and unwillingly we surrender, and God's got the victory over us. But that's not really how it is, Most of the storms that happen are a result of our own doing. They are the result of our own bad decision making. One way or another, if we trace those problems back to their roots, we will have our name stamped on them as the biggest part of the makeup. So God is still trying to rescue us from ourselves. But in that sense, we created a problem, so we are trying to rescue ourselves in the problem. But we just have to get to the point where we say, Uncle, okay, I can't rescue myself. I need you to help me. And that's, as you said, that it takes a step of faith. It takes a step of yieldedness. You are acknowledging that you are not sufficient within yourself. But that's not a bad thing, because God never designed us to be self-sufficient. That wasn't the deal in the beginning. That wasn't the idea of life in the beginning. Life is a co-event. It's like a life with no relationship. There's no life at all. We are designed and we are made to be in relationship with God. But that takes us acknowledging that we are not sufficient in ourselves and we need that.
You are listening to The Journey. To me, the difference is really big, and I noticed the difference in my life, how my life changed when I started asking through prayer. I started that relationship through prayer and started asking for not only help in a storm, but just for guidance. Just started asking for guidance about everything, like everyday things. You know, which way should I go? Which car should I buy? Which, simple things like that. Like there's a choice of 3 or 4 cars, and which would be safer? Which color would be seen by other cars and be safer? I can't tell. That's important though, because that could prevent an accident so that I could have a longer life. And so even simple things like that, once I started asking for guidance in everyday things, not only when big storms come, I saw the difference. I've seen and experienced the huge difference. There's like a harmony, there's like a choreography that happens that's way better than I could ever do in even those everyday things without the storm even, and then let alone when there's a storm. But what you're saying, it just kind of reminds me that the difference between trying to fix it myself and acknowledging and asking for help is, like, to me, that's all the difference in the world. Because when I started asking for guidance and help instead of thinking I knew best, that meant for me that I was acknowledging that I didn't create myself, that I don't beat my heart, that I don't, that I'm even here was not of my own doing, that I'm even here in the world was from God the Father, created and allowed life to happen in me. So when I go to sleep at night, I can wake up the next morning, not by my doing, because my heart was beating all night. I wasn't doing that. I was sleeping. I don't do it now as we're talking, right? So when I started seeing the difference between trying to do it myself or asking for guidance, asking for help, that was a big change for me in finding rest in the storm, because I was developing, for me, it was a letting go of pride. That's kind of how it felt. It's like I'm now acknowledging that I would rather have God manage my life than myself.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly how it needs to be. I think, in my journey through life, that's exactly what I've discovered. The more we let go and the more we allow Him to be in control, the better things get in many ways. And that doesn't mean necessarily that there are no storms, because the storms are essential. The storms create growth. So it does mean that we have this inner confidence, this inner peace, this inner situation that allows us to go through the storm and learn the lessons and become better for it and not bitter for it. And I think that's a really essential part. It really is. Yeah, that's very well said.
Nice.
Very well said. And that's really, it's about cultivating a tranquil heart and having a relationship with God. And I think, we hopefully are using some music in our show today. And we have a few little pieces of music or songs or different things in. And what's the difference between noise and music? Noise are sounds that have no relation. Music are sounds in relationship to each other. And it's kind of when we are out of a relationship with God, we're just in the noise. We're just in the noise. We're in the storms. We're in the things, and we don't have harmony. We don't have peace, because we're not harmonizing with God. We're not in relationship with Him. And so it comes down to when we start to ask, when we start to acknowledge, then we start to harmonize. We can start to get in tune and start to make melody. And then there are so many different words we can use. We can, it's been used, we can start to dance. Life is like a dance. Jesus has been called the Lord of the dance. It's harmony together. It's a relationship together. If you look at dance, the most beautiful dancing, two people in very close relationship, intuitively knowing what the other one is going to do, harmonizing and moving together. And I think exactly what you are talking about is, as we grow in this relationship with the Lord, that those things start to happen. And it starts by us asking, what do you think? What should I do? How should I do this? How do I hold on? What's next? And as we grow in that relationship, then it's the next steps become more instinctive. The next steps become clearer. And I think it's just as you earlier said, looking at it as a human relationship. If it's between a man and woman, if you meet somebody and you're curious about them and you want to develop a relationship, you'll want to know, what kind of restaurant do you like to eat at? What do you like to do on the weekends? What kind of movies do you like to watch? Do you like to read books? What do you think about this? What do you think about that? How do you see this? What do you think of those people? And that is very external. It's looking out. The focus is outward. And to go back to what I was talking about in the beginning, I said we have to focus outward. Well, yeah, okay, I said we need to focus outward on others, but maybe I need to qualify that a little bit and say maybe we need to focus outward on the Lord first.
Mm-hmm.
And if we focus outward on the Lord and develop this relationship, and it won't happen instantly, it's something that grows over time. But I do know that God can do sufficient things in the beginning for us to understand that it is a real relationship and it is something that is growing. And if we keep going in that and keep growing in that, then we can start to focus out on other people and their situations and do exactly what the Dalai Lama said there. It says, care for the happiness of others by developing love and compassion. But I think the foundation, the anchor below the sea, the boat, whichever kind of parallel you want to use to talk about it, is relationship with God. That's it. If we have a real live relationship with God, then those things will happen in our lives and we will find that tranquil heart in relationship with God.
So when you say relationship, actually, it sounds like this is like a personal relationship, and it's actually between your heart and the heart of God. It's actually, it sounds like it doesn't even need a church or a priest or anything to experience. It's actually just something that we can develop directly with God.
Absolutely. I mean, throughout history, there are so many stories, testimonies, whatever you want to call them, of people entering into and finding a relationship with God without any external information. Because it has to be, if God is who He says He is, then He is our Creator. He doesn't need any external information. He is able to come to us directly. But at the same time, if you want to make a relationship with somebody, you want to write them a letter, well, either you need some computer to send an email, or you need a piece of paper and an envelope and a postman in order to deliver your letter. And so yes, God does use other people to deliver the letters, to bring us the messages. Maybe this talk now here today is part of that delivery system. But in the end, the relationship itself is absolutely a personal, direct, no interference from anything else, direct relationship. And I think that's the first thing that people have to understand, really. That's the goal. And if we have that relationship, then the journey of life is a beautiful experience. And I think that's that's a wonderful thing.
Absolutely. And that relationship that we're both talking about, if we've experienced it over time and time again, when that storm comes, the storms do come to all people. We have that deep water now to go underneath the storm. We're familiar with how to go and to have our foundation, what foundation point we can come from. So that makes a huge difference, because now we don't have to, from inside of us, have our own storm happening while the outer storm is happening. We can have that calm water, that deep water, because we've experienced it time and time again, to where storms come, we ask for help, and help comes, and we've learned something incredible from that storm. Mm-hmm. So actually we can even start to see the positive effects of the storm, how it either cleansed something out of us that was out of balance, mm-hmm. or away from God.
Yes.
Or various different things.
Or new things start to grow.
Yeah.
Which is, we go back to our very, very beginning parallel with the lightning that creates nitrogen that causes things to grow. So, yeah, maybe I could, I have a little quote in front of me that, if it's okay, I'd like to take a little read through, because maybe this says it, in a more efficient way than I can express. It says, the Bible uses the word peace in several different ways. Peace sometimes refers to a state of friendship between God and man. This peace between a holy God and sinful man has been made possible by Christ's sacrificial death. To quote the Bible, having made peace through the blood of his cross. So in addition, as a high priest, the Lord continues to maintain the state of friendship on behalf of all who continue to come to God by him, ask, seeing he always lives to make intercession for them. This state of friendship with God is a prerequisite, something you've got to have for the second kind of peace, that which sometimes refers to a tranquil mind. It is only when we have peace with God through our Lord Jesus Christ that we can experience the true peace of mind that is a fruit of the Holy Spirit. In other words, his fruit shown in us. The Bible in the old book of Isaiah says, God will keep us in perfect peace if our minds are stayed on him, meaning that our minds lean on him, center on him, and trust in him. Our tranquility of mind is perfect or imperfect to the degree that our mind is stayed on him, God, rather than ourselves or on our problems. Peace is experienced as we believe what the Bible says about God's nearness and about his goodness, his power, his mercy, his love for us, and his complete sovereignty over all of life's circumstances. But we can't trust someone we don't know. And it is crucial, therefore, to come to know intimately the Prince of Peace, Jesus Christ. Peace is experienced as a result of prayer. Exactly what we were talking about. We learn, we grow in our relationship through prayer. Prayer is our love letter. Prayer is our communication. Prayer is our email. Prayer is our onlineness with God. And so it's just there in a nutshell, really, the tranquility that people desire. It's not to be found by ourselves, within ourselves. It comes by asking and getting in harmony with the Creator.
Well, this is going to be a really long show. It was supposed to be like 20 minutes, but I can't cut any of this out, so I'm just going to put it all in. It's great. Thank you so much, John. And we really look forward to hearing this show when it's finished. And we really look forward to inviting you back for our winter show. This was our fall show. And we do intend to do one show per season and 4 shows per year. So our next time we'd like to invite you back would be during the winter season. And it won't be so hot here in Japan, and we hopefully be a little more comfortable to get up here in the studio. And we just want to thank you. Thank you.
The thanks is from me. It's such a privilege, such a blessing for me to be able to share what little I've learned. And I hope and pray it's a blessing to those who may be listening at any time, that God is near because He loves you.
Amen. Thank you, John. You are listening to The Journey.
Inner tranquility comes from the development of love and compassion. It is this foundation that is below the storm that does help us through.
To find a tranquil heart, we have to learn to ask for help to God. Ask. Just the simple act of asking.
God is out to help us. God is there for us. He always has been and He always will be. But we have to get down even below those things, down to the rock foundation, down to the bottom, to the things that don't change. Down below there are these timeless foundations, like love. The more we care for the happiness of others, the greater is our own sense of well-being. That's a bigger picture than just our concern about ourselves. Start to focus on others. That helps to reduce the size of our own problem.
We have that deep water now to go underneath the storm.
The boat, whichever kind of parallel you want to use to talk about it, is relationship with God. If your own heart is calm and peaceful, then although the storm may be on the outside, it's not on the inside anymore. How to develop, how to get this tranquil heart. A life with no relationship is no life at all. The tranquility that people desire, it's not to be found by ourselves, within ourselves. It comes by asking. down below there are these timeless foundations like love. Like love.
You've been listening to The Journey. Thank you for tuning in. This was our fall 2016 show. We invite you to stay tuned for our next chapter of The Journey, which will be airing this winter in early 2017. Until then, stay well and stay blessed, and welcome to The Journey.